Dreamfield Board President Laura Leader has asked the two new board members to come to the board meeting an hour early for the first few months they are in office. Laura is particularly anxious to talk with Norman Newby, who ran on an impassioned platform of change, and who defeated her closest friend on the board in the election. Norman enters the boardroom to find Laura and Superintendent Sam Smart deep in conversation.
Well, I see you two are already hard at work, trying to figure out how to deal with the new guy.
Oh, no, Norman. We just always come in early before the meeting to look over the agenda. Get ready.
Oh, really? Because I thought that the board was supposed to be a well-equipped team. I mean, they said that to us at the IASB orientation that you sent me to. We're all supposed to have the same information from the superintendent. I mean, if we're a team, I mean, it seems like it's not a very level playing field.
Well, you're right about the equity of information, Norman, but this is just a chance for the superintendent and the president of the board to get together before the meeting. We review the agenda, we look over things for the order of things and timing and things like that.
Speaking of timing, I hope you guys realize I have a lot to say. I'm going to weigh in on a lot of issues. I mean, these new boundaries changes that we made, they aren't working. I mean, my child is on the bus for far too long. I think we need to rethink those changes. I mean, I understand it's not on the agenda here, but it's important nonetheless.
Well, Norman, if you'd come to some meetings before you ran for election, you'd understand how much work and effort went into making those changes. The board worked very hard on those.
Actually, I've gotten a lot of community feedback on that, Sam, and I'm not absolutely sure we did the right thing on that. I know the achievement data prompted us to really shake things up.
Well, and I think maybe we're shaking things up in the wrong arena. I mean, if we really want to impact student achievement, why not start with discipline? I mean, my son's in middle school, and he says the discipline there is just...
Now, Norman, this is why you should have been attending the meetings before you were elected. If you had, you'd know that we do have an initiative on discipline. It's been in place for several years now. So really...
and the key word there is several. Nothing meaningful ever changes here in Dreamfield. Laura, our schools are the same as when I attended them. The winds of change are not blowing through Dreamfield. There's not even a slight breeze. When Sam was hired 2 years ago, I thought to myself, now we're ready for some real change. And I gotta tell you, I have been sorely disappointed on that part.
Well, I can't tell you how sorry I am to hear you say that, Norman. Although you did make it pretty evident how you felt during the election.
Well, look, Sam, I'm just trying to tell you how I feel. I mean, you notice Betty Beginner isn't here. I mean, she's a new board member too, but is she taking her time to come to these? No. I mean, I know she feels the same as me. She's too shy to say it.
Well, let's just try and start the evening with something positive, shall we? Why don't you think about something that you've seen the board do that you believe does show that we care about student learning?
Nothing, really. I mean, from what I understand, the board comes in here and listens to Sam's recommendation and then votes unanimously to approve. I've heard the term rubber stamp board before, and I think that fits this place like a glove.
I can give you a lot of examples of why we've accepted those recommendations and of the many things we've done for students. We have a reading initiative that's in place. It has made a huge difference in student achievement.
And what does that have to do with the board?
Well, the board was fundamental in that reading program, Norman. They set goals, specific district goals for the initiative. Then they developed talking points around the initiative, why they supported it, and they use that frequently in the boardroom. The teachers who are implementing it feel very supported. They appreciate the board's consistency, the fact that it was a unanimous vote, and that we're sticking with it.
And we know that because they tell us so. We have a lot of informative reports come into this board table about a lot of things, about changes in instruction, things that are working for the teachers and for the students.
See, that's a classic example of what I'm talking about. People were talking about the importance of reading when I was in school. Never really liked reading. I was more of a math person myself. But, I mean, what about technology? Why isn't the board talking about that instead of reading? I mean, a reading goal seems kind of dated to me.
Well, we are moving forward on technology, Norman, but we don't want to lose our emphasis that we've had for these past few years on reading while we move forward with the technology.
Well, now,
It's
speaking
not
of
that hard
reading, I hope you guys didn't expect me to read this entire packet here, because this is a lot of information, and I am not a strong reader. Most of this looks like all we got to do is come in, see how we feel about Sam's recommendation, decide whether we're going to vote it up or down, and then we move on to the important stuff. Stuff like why our neighboring school districts have these new buildings wired up for all kinds of tech, and we don't. I mean, we're going to lose kids to this. And I hope you guys appreciate the honesty that I'm bringing to this table, because, I mean, isn't that why I was elected?